gente vai começar com Fulvio.
Next speaker is going to be Fulvio, co-founder of Smart Change. It is a new company with different implemented projects for the private network. And therefore, Fulvio is the guy who is going to demystify this relationship between public and private. How are you doing? How was your coffee break? I have a funny mission. I'm going to demystify blockchain for you. I'm not going to talk about state of truth, state of work, what is BTV, and so on. We're not going to get into the technical details. I would rather have you use your heads to think that blockchain is a technology that has come to stay. It will solve problems we have in our transaction chain work. It's not magic. And we're going to talk about human transformation. This is how my mom sees me. And this is how people see me when I talk about blockchain. It's very important that we understand that blockchain is a new technology, and as such, people think it's really weird, and it is. Because we're going to talk about trust, this is a clip between me and Angelica. The clip is called Getting Wet by the Rain. And maybe you could find me in YouTuber. I've been an artist. I quit this life because I like to deal with humans in the backstage. Since you already know about my history, I will start talking about blockchain. Smart Chain is a venture builder. You met Alex. He's my partner and CTO at Smart Chains. But for you to have an idea, we're a group of companies that work and make money with blockchain. I can tell you that I am a happy owner of a blockchain company, whatever that means. Thank you very much. Well, it's always nice to watch people looking at you thinking that you're crazy. Whenever I say about permissioned networks, I'm going to explain a little bit about LetoX. This is a platform that was created in Estonia, which works with regulation and governance for the creation of ICOs, the initial coin offerings for blockchain startups. And for other lines of products. All of the projects can generate platforms, consortia, and you can even get a digital diploma that avoids falsification of diplomas. This never happens in Brazil, right? And then we need proof when we say, okay, we're going to end with public notaries. So this is a network of public notaries. Every new technology is seen as revolutionary, and people think that we are going to end the world. This is so silly. I will later make an invitation for you to enter our page. This is fomenting new technology. And if you want to talk about blockchain, markets, and governments, Lightchain is a donation made through blockchain. And in the future, through Lightchain, you will be able to pay for your children's school, for instance. I'm showing you this so you don't think that blockchain is a small thing done by two people in a garage. A lot of people are working with blockchain for the real world. Our world, in case you don't know or in case you don't want to see, it is the world where in 2017, the 21st century, has a series of cases and industries that we trust in. So I'd like to know who here would like to have some, to buy strawberries? We all know that strawberries have a lot of pesticides, and then you buy strawberries from Atibaia. So buy the morango from Atibaia. It has come to you. So who can track the producer, what or whether it was stored properly? Okay, let's forget that guy in the fair. You go to the drugstore stores. Can you track the food you're eating? No, thank you. That is a trust-based chain. And you never stop to think about this. Sometimes we get really pissed. Please forgive me for my Portuguese whenever I say things like, I am really pissed off, or, what we have to do is improve ourselves as human beings, apply technology properly. The atomic bomb is technology. Are we going to start using them? Well, which one of you here on the stage in the last 5 years have taken a bill from your wallet and checked to see whether it's false or not? Well, this is crazy. You may be going around with false money for 5 years. So this is our trust relationship with our money. We trust that it's going to be cool. If William Bonner, like Globo or not, say that a group threw 3 million real in false bills, what are you going to do? You're going to check your bill, right? Take into account that most of us do not know the 20 or 30 things that we have to know or see in a money bill. Blockchain is a trust-based technology. What we want to implement with blockchain in any network, among industries, among people, it is to establish that our trust relationship may be regulated outside. Any of you dealing with any company must trust that company, that government, that person. And we will have fraud, of course. Human beings fail, is that right? So I'm going to give you the best blockchain definition in your life. And please forgive me if you're offended. Blockchain is a technology anti-son of a bitches. Okay, calm down. I know that except from this room and the amazing people in here, any group, be it small or big, there will be a son of a bitch there. There will be. Don't cheat yourself. Don't fool yourself. You know that they painted a button black so that Trump would not push it. So otherwise, he would look at it and go, That will happen. So every time you hear about blockchain, you should know that blockchain only solves one problem, which is trust. Who here works with technology or development? Wow, my little friends, our profession didn't used to exist some 40 years ago. Isn't it cool? So if you look at blockchain, trying to create this based on this, you won't be able to do it. We did not create a light bulb based on interaction and development of the candle. Is that right? It wouldn't have been possible to do that. But what we wanted to do was to take or was to have less expensive lighting so that we could have the benefits of the chain. And this is what blockchain is going to do. In a while, blockchain is going to be like electricity. Nobody will go in there and say, Sir Pedro, do you use electricity? Pedro is my father-in-law, and he has a bakery. But those who buy from GPA as a supplier, you will love to know that it's very well possible that we will have some tracking of food in the network. So you have to be careful. Everything started with a verb. This is the best slide we have here, and perhaps this is the last one I will be talking about. So any of you who want to have a deep dive, please ask me before. We'll end up coming to this. Every blockchain will have a decentralized base called ledger, which follows the same principle of an accounting book. So I put information in that bank and I decentralize to improve my trust among all of the participants of the network. And so we leave a centralized model going into a decentralized one where this bank, which coordinates this whole thing, blockchain is anti-boss. There will not be a boss saying, okay, people from the bank, that invoice for the 31st, well, use it on the 1st. And then he would say, oh, no, that has never happened to me. And then the discussion, whether it's public, private, or permissioned. This is a technical discussion right now. Your blockchain application will have an impact on who? Does it have to be public? Can it be permissioned? You have an insurance company with 1,500 brokers, with lots of transactions working with claims. What is your interest in putting all of your transactions and agreements in a public network? So I create a permissioned network, but then you're not blockchain, you're not decentralized it. I want to improve my business. In the Netherlands, whenever you buy a bike, you go to the store, you get your bike, and they put it in blockchain. In Amsterdam, people go really crazy. They get the bike, throw in the canal, and then they want to use the insurance. So they were having a lot of problems with fraud. So whenever you buy a bike, the store will record your bicycle in the blockchain, have an insurance. It will go on to the operator so that you know that there's an insurance involved. They also give you an intelligent locker, which will inform whether it's closed or not and what the location of the bicycle is right there. And then the number of fraud decreased a lot. And what happened to the price of the insurance? It went down. But do you think that people who buy bicycle know that there's blockchain available? No. They think that it is the chain's fault. Well, whether it's public or private, it'll depend on implementation. Let's call it permissioned. And so I invite you to go to a club, and I determine who goes in. Very well. Every blockchain will control an asset. Blockchain does not control your loved ones. It does not bring your loved one back. It's not going to make you get rich. And do not think that just because you're going to create a cryptocurrency, you're going to be a billionaire. So we may have assets that we have already mentioned here, such as ID, milk, bread, meat, tires, concrete trucks, or a decentralized company. Everything may be put in blockchain. I have an asset, and then we must have a transaction among the parties, and there's one rule for you to get from one point to the other. And that's why Bitcoin is as idiot as it should be. I have the money, you want to have my money. And then the network says that the transaction is nice. So what is so nice about this? Well, we have technology behind it, and this is only made possible with this kind of technology. But I don't want to talk about technology. I want to talk about the human character. And every blockchain will have contracts and rules. Every blockchain will have a consensus. And a consensus is a technology that comes from distributed computation from the 60s. Nothing has changed. Blockchain only got the following: a bunch of technologies that was already existing. They put it into an algorithm which enables machines, if they are well planned and well related, they can have a transaction on what you need. Are you doing okay? Okay, great. I will share this slide with you later on. But when we talk to governments, companies, and people, what is the consensus? It doesn't fucking matter. S526 or whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. But does it work? It works really well, man. So this is internet today. This is blockchain. Blockchain today as a technology, even though it's very complex and amazing, it is like what the internet was in 96. If you get the timeline in a coffee break, you will see that in 96, who wasn't there? In 96. Google. What do you mean Google didn't exist in 96? No. So this is what's happening with blockchain. So we are developing the base. We're talking about how these assets will be transactioned. Now, those who talk about the banking networks, how do you know that your money will get to somebody's account when you transfer money? Yeah, but how do you know that it got there? That it got where it was supposed to get? The amazing technology. If I had a gift here, I would give it to you, but I don't have one. But I'm going to give you a Bitcoin hashtag, 0.00001 Bitcoin. But I only know when they let me know. They say, okay, your money has arrived. And then I go, oh, really? Are you serious? It's amazing when we start discovering that all of these trust-based networks are shitless. Blockchain is a global movement. Companies such as IBM, Microsoft, BWC, Accenture, government R3, Estonia, Dubai, Brazil, and NIC, the National Treasury, companies in the supply chain, it's all running already, and the discussion on Hyperledger, Bitcoin, Light Dash, whatever. Who develops for the web here? I will show you how you could send a website. I would like to talk about DNS with you. There are 14 machines. And then people already get really pissed with you because they don't want to know what DNS means. And then you say HTML5 is a wonderful language. It is used to create websites, but it's ugly. And you will end your sales. You can go back home. Can you sell a website like this? Why will I talk about blockchain and say, okay, we program in Solidity in Hyperledger, we program in eJava. Go to hell. Nobody wants to know about that. The government, investors, the company, whoever, it doesn't fucking matter for them. The only technology that can deal with the 17 sustainable objectives of the UN to transform our world is blockchain. IoT and artificial intelligence are going to be perfect marriages. We have even carried out some projects using IoT networks. But I will tell you something. You're technicians, right? So try to put 1 million IoTs in a public network and see what happens to your application. It doesn't happen. The network cannot do that. It does not have enough capacity, and that's why they're creating specific networks. Do you know that Disney has created a blockchain?
Well, exactly. As according to their technical requirements. Do you know that Visa has its own blockchain? Oh, yes, they do. Can you imagine Visa making transactions every 10 minutes within the Bitcoin, 10,000 transactions every 10 minutes? The network, the platform will totally stop. So to guarantee blockchain to be a reliable structure, that is what they do. Our children are more intelligent. They are digitalized. And all that reactions, they get really annoyed. Have you tried telling your son, your grandchild? Well, we can do that in a little while. Then they come back. Then you say again, well, just wait, we'll do that. Third time, they no longer ask you. They just kick you on your legs, and they say, no, you are lying to me. You won't do anything. When they say, what time means right now. Our data is running in huge data minings in the platform. Energy is being shared. It's possible that even we will be able to generate energy. Our crop, our medicine, everything is improving, developing. And what can't you solve? Everything's mine, my information, my data, my powerful database. But anytime they have a problem, what they have to do, they have to audit their bank, and that costs. Blockchain is a technology like door out. Let's imagine that we have a tire manufacturer company. Every day, I get old tires at several car repairs around the country. Then I take old tires, I take somewhere else that will pay me for carbon generation, and 20% of tires are lost on the way. They run away. Nobody steals it. The truck driver says, no, they had loaded just 8, not 10. Where have you stopped? I don't know. I have no clue. I just drive the truck. The guy that is donating tires to get carbon credits, what is that considered to be? Disposable? Yes, why not? What about the guy who gets the tire to be recycled? Is that disposable or is that raw material? Raw material. What a big headache when the same guy who's got the same product for raw material and for disposable. Does that work if they want to relate RTs? Don't be a liar. You know exactly that that's not possible. That's expensive. It does not exist. Blockchain takes transaction outside our premises. So tires had left. They were taken accordingly. It reached its final destination. Carbon credit was generated. And as everyone is exactly in the same network, we can see if those credits are given. Blockchain and IoT. What a lovely marriage. Was that heavy? Well, they take that to blockchain, 500 kilos. When it reaches the opposite way, is it worthwhile saying that the load was left with 400? No. Blockchain will have the proof that that material left with 500 kilos, and it should reach its destination with 500 kilos. Blockchain and IoT, take a look at the traffic. If it takes 2 hours to reach its final destination with a temperature below its average, you should advise final destination that they should not get the goods. And if meat get spoiled during transportation, will the truck driver say, no, that meat's not good, with under average temperature, you should not take it? No one will say that. We are IBM partner, that's why we have IBM blockchain there on the screen. Tracing global supply chains such as Walmart or pork meat in China. Maersk, they lose containers. They are a container manufacturer company, but they lose them. It's sometimes when you get home, you say, well, I lost my keys, but the guy who works for Mark says, well, I lost a container. How about that? They have a global project with IBM where all proofs of context will be present. And we don't want to do that on purpose, but to go from 40 humans to 3, just 3. Do you see any additional value? Well, many people will be fired. Well, that's not new, right? Many people have been sacked due to technology. Or we have what? We have the guy who rides the carriage. No, we have drivers. As mankind, why have we decided to have fuel cars and not carriages? We had the shit and smoke. Shit, smoke, they prefer smoke. Let's get rid of horses. Too much shit on the streets. With blockchain will be exactly the same thing. Is that a chain of trust? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. That is universal technology. I'm about to finish. Technology. Let's go outside and talk about consensus, state of work, state of proof, Solidity, Java, Go language, Ethereum, whatever else you say. But if you haven't got a case study where blockchain will add a benefit to supply chain, technology is useless. Let's keep on working with what we have today. If we have to solve any trust problem, blockchain is the technology. But if you want to create some suffrage applications, let's do it. Fair enough. But let's also consider a chain between banks where our ideas will be interconnected, and when the money gets to your account, leaves your account, we'll know that, and the score rate will define it. It sounds nice, doesn't it? It is. My name is Xavier. I am from Smart Chains. And let me tell you, old business, new technology. Nothing has changed. We need to have users' perspective, mails, supply chain, everything. In 1996, we hadn't had anything at all like that. No one would carry such a power computer such as the Sputnik. Ours just cost 1,000 reals, theirs 1 billion US dollars. So keep that in mind. Blockchain is a much broader concept than technology, but rather a sense of trust between people, entities, and governors. Blockchain is a technology of trust which will improve our business chain and our business units. Thank you so much and hope to see you again soon. Thanks a lot, Fulvio. I hope you liked his his presentation. And we still have time for a few questions. Anyone? I love not talking about technology. No, we have some questions. We have one question in the back. My name is Thiago. I work for Scopus, and I'd like to know if it's possible to violate a blockchain. Not today. No, it's not possible. As there is encryption and machines, they have an algorithm of consensus and trust. The max you can do is to place the wrong information in the blockchain. But that's not possible. Violation is not possible, regardless of the implementation. Efforts that you have to make to break an encryption like that is not possible yet. We will have a quantum encryption. Technology follows technology. What we see in the public networks is much more difficult to violate the system. To crap that I have to get two machines at the same time to talk about that moment. So if you want to violate a transaction, in addition to all that calculation, you have to redo all registers. Today, it's not possible. You just register your robbery, similar to what Odebrecht did in their tip system. Good morning. What is the difference between a public blockchain and a private one? Public blockchains are machines talking. Users hate blockchain, but they don't have a clue what blockchain is. I need to have infrastructure for that to work. So what do? I invite people to place machines in their public and private consensus. And as you have machines to your network to work, what do? I give you some kickbacks. Miners, they are those that lend infrastructure to the network. Infrastructure costs money, so I bribe. I give some concessions. And each platform will have their own specific jargon. In case of allowance permitted better than private, I just talk to my group. Internet, intranet, is that fine? What's intranet? I just invite those that I want to. Do I have to have everything the same a public environment? No. Am I willing to do that? No. Why don't banks they use a Bitcoin network for transactions? We would all know who is Itaú and who is Bradesco. Does that matter? No. In case of a private, but we have consensus between machines, distributed ledgers. I am in the transaction of a smart contract. A smart contract is not smart at all. My supply chain becomes more transparent and public. Anyone can have devices to improve infrastructure. Then we change a trust key and our network starts working. Is that fine? First of all, congratulations. Very clear. I am a CGI advisor and I am a lawyer. Is there any perception between the legal environment and institutional one that a blockchain should be regulated? We have a very healthy judiciary environment and legal in the country. Is there anything to be regulated? If you say so, what? Yes, of course, there will always be. Who knows Bitcoin here? Blockchain is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is blockchain. Do you get it? As to encryption, regulation will come somehow, maybe such as Russia and China that are prohibiting Bitcoin in their territory, or in case of Japan that has a horrible inflation and they prefer to regulate that in a different way. And here I'm talking about active encryption only. Brazil is is much closer to Japan. Do you know why Putin is destroying Bitcoin? As to other regulatory aspects, When we talk about notary offices, we talk about the global process of supply chain and things like that. At Maestro, when you have a customs in your blockchain, they have to understand that that happens according to their regulation. Otherwise, they won't use it. So regulations will happen. And what we understand in terms of governors and companies is that they will trust much more technology and they will regulate that hyperledger. Let's imagine that we have a health coin. And then I invite our Anvisa to know if they have compatibility. And we do not want to break those paradigms, but we want to understand how adequate they are and offer the proper changes. We have some old legislations which can no longer be adopted nowadays. So the legal framework will happen, that will be mild, as authorities, they now trust us. I was in our federal capital a few weeks ago, and for those of you who do not know, there are some federal entities with lab at Silicon Valley studying blockchain. That's it. Thank you. Now we have Percival for a 20 minutes hands-on and to show you how to set up a network, a business model. Anything you need, just let me know. This is my presentation. This is blockchain. Good morning. I am Percival. I am a researcher for IBM Lab. Not only at IBM, but during events and talks, everyone asks me, what is blockchain? But blockchain is not a beautiful interface like the web interface. When we show, people get quite disappointed. Blockchain is a platform. We are in the W3C conference looking for web standardization, which was the first main platform which has changed the world. And we are here today thanks to Tim Berners-Lee and everyone else, researchers and scientists who developed this wonderful platform. After the web, we had the mobile platform, and today we keep talking about blockchain, which is a platform where you create apps with some business logics, not a nice interface. Some you show them and they say, wow, look at that. But people, they have to understand that blockchain is a platform to create distributed platforms. That has been said for a while. When that started, it was distributed, but today is more centralized. We have those open closed portals, and blockchain is a chance that we have to recreate and rethink internet from a different perspective. And who's behind it? There is a guy named Linus who said once, "Talk steep and show me the code." With that in mind, the Linux Foundation is the responsible entity for the project Hyperledge. It's a bit small. Hyperledge is a open source project with over 100 companies. That is a basic technology, such as HTTP, Apache. When you mention Apache, they have the Apache Foundation. They do so much, but people just recall HTTP. Hyperledger is the same thing. It's a set of companies which develop a blockchain platform. That's not a single one, but similar to a web server where you may install it and have your own. And the web server doesn't make sense if you have one with one single node, as the idea is to have distributed applications. When we talk about blockchain, the difference is that you will consider an app that will run on a network, a number of companies or people developing a app of common reasons. Where to start from? First, you should download and create your own network, where you download a basic script that will teach you to set your network up. You have the nodes, and if you are on a Linux environment, you can upload those nodes directly at your machine, as this is a Linux Foundation project. But if you are in Mac or any other operating system, you have the possibility to run those as documents, a Docker, I mean. I will not say that Docker is a virtualization because people will go mad with me, but at least it allows you to run docs. What's the first step to know to run a project at Hyperledger? I go in my GitHub, download a script, number of nodes, structure of nodes, I execute it, and then I have my nodes running in my machine. And there is a way to connect those throughout the membership services. If you want to know what is a running network, you see that a running network is a number of docs, nodes of membership, where they allow access to the web. We are talking here about a privacy network, not like Ethereum, which is open to anyone. No. To access it, you have to go there, you have to register keys of each one of the participants. There is an interface which allows you to do it, and then you may write down the smart contracts. What are those? Well, smart contracts are programs. You will not upload a network for doing nothing. No. You want to run a website over Apache. So uploading the network is just the first step. Afterwards, you have to write down the smart contracts. And how can you do it? Well, to write down smart contracts, you can use Golang, which is a very powerful language for smart contracts. Or you may even apply a simple tool like Composer of JavaScript. In fact, this is a DSL. That's an extension of JavaScript, which allows you writing programs to be run over that platform. They are responsible for transactions. What sort? A network. A specific network of Hyperledge is based on three types of objects. First, participants. No one can submit a transaction without identification. If you go through an exchange, their transactions are not anonymous. Federal policy just goes after you and finds you out. In the hyperledge, you have to identify who are your network participants, who are allowed to participate. Second, assets. What are you going to commercialize? Diamonds, cars. Or maybe you can have a more Brazilian rural approach where you will look after your corn, soybeans, or animal assets. Here, a project that can help you with animal transactions, where you have participants, assets, and transactions that allows you changing animals. How can I then prepare my blockchain? First thing for setting up purpose is throughout the code define my participants, my assets, and my transactions. With my script, I define some specific data information. What are my animals' kind? What are their status? What sort of products do they offer? Meat, milk, wool. And I have to understand what are the assets to be used in my network. I define farmers and all the attributes. So we add some objects one to another. We may have one asset linked to another one. Here I will define my participants, and once that is done, I have to define my assets. Here an animal, basic asset, and finally a transaction to specify rules. As I will move animals, I have to define how they will move around. In Bitcoin, you just move Bitcoins, and there is a specific rule for that. Not over here. There is no rule to define how to move animals in my network. So I create a function in JavaScript. When can I transfer it? When can't I? If the animal is in the countryside, I may change that for in transit, if you know what I mean. So first they have to verify if that animal is in the field. And here some update, animals update. It changes the animal status. And over here it updates the object. Once you set that up in the smart contracts, I can do just anything. I can make transactions with cars, anything at all. What is the blockchain interface? And how to link that blockchain to a nice web interface. But first, let's test our network.
they validate the smart contract, and so if I enter any invalid information, it will inform you. After I enter the data, the smart contract has prepared everything. I have recorded this farmer in my network. I have my list of transactions, and we will see that at 9:26 I actually entered Alecio as a farmer in my network. So blockchain is basically this. We have a recording of all of the transactions taking place in the network. Now that I have entered Alecio as a farmer, I will create an asset for Alecio. What's your dog's name, Alecio? So if I enter dog here, it will not allow me because I have defined some types of animals. Otherwise, I would have to go there and change my smart contract. It will say, okay, dog is not a valid animal, but I can create a new type of animal. So here I have the model. I'm going to create another animal. And to make it minimally consistent, let's call it a dog. And let's update the smart contract. So what are we going to give it? Okay, so this is Alecio's Chinese dog. So now Alex has an asset, which is a dog. And if you check my transactions here, you will see that there's a new transaction, which was the creation of Alecio's dog. And then I can create another person, for instance, André. And now we're going to try to make a transaction. And so I'm going to move the animal called Toto. I have not seen what Alecio's ID is.
O ID é o e-mail. Vamos ver aqui o que está no smart contract.
The ID is the email. Let's see what's in the smart contract. So let's see farmer and what identifies this object.
Bom, vamos chutar aqui.
Okay, let's try this. Now I will try to move Toto.
Aqui é o field do que está o Totó. Nem sei onde está o Totó.
I don't even know where Toto is.
Bem. para o André. O ID do Total não é total.
Toto's ID is not Toto. And so the smart contract validates everything. This example wasn't prepared previously, and so I will try and arrange everything. So it's Toto with lowercase letters. It makes a difference between uppercase and lowercase. And therefore I should enter Toto just the way as I entered it. And now it is saying that it does not know who Alecio is, who André is, but it already identifies Toto. It's probably the email. So I go here.
É Binotto e o e-mail do André é X.
So this is Andre's email. Piece of cake.
O Binotto ele aceitou. Agora
It has accepted the address, but it is not accepting to send to X person. Maybe there's some kind of restriction here.
uma das coisas que o pessoal acredita é que no blockchain
One of the people believe in is that in blockchain you cannot change information. Actually, what you cannot change is the recording, but at any time you can come in and change information in blockchain. But the input stays. There's a history that will stay. It is saying that I cannot change the ID of the object. So let's go and enter somebody else. And now let's do it right. I'm sorry it's taking a long time.
smart contract é chato, né? Se você não
You can see that smart contract is very strict. If you enter any information that is not right, it will not allow you to go on. So I have now entered another farmer, which is at this other email address. And now let's see whether it's possible to transfer the animal.
É verdade, tá invertido. Muito bom que alguém está prestando atenção.
It's true. This thing here is inverted. It's nice that you're paying attention. Toto belongs to Alecio. And I'm sending it to André. I cannot invert it. It won't allow me to do that.
Tem razão. Não está deixando eu cadastrar. É aquele negócio, quem sabe faz ao vivo, né?
It's not working. Here we have the farmer's ID.
Então aqui eu tenho um fazendeiro, Binotto.
So here I have one farmer, Binotto, and the other one, André. I have one animal, which is Toto. And Alecio basically wants to get rid of Toto and pass Toto on to it's business to business. It does not allow it to be done from between farmers to farmers, but we do not have any business entered in the system. I could have used a simpler example.
Podia ter feito um coding dojo aqui, todo mundo junto. E o owner, aqui eu vou colocar como owner aqui desse business, o Alecio. Tá, cadastrei business.
Okay, so I have entered this business here. It is business number 1, Alecio's Farm. It does not accept a transfer of animals between individuals. It has to be between companies. We're now going to enter André's business. Now, I also have the different businesses, and here I did not record any farm. So the animal is Toto. It's in business 1, in farm 1. And here's the transaction. So I'd like to thank you. If you want to, we have a lot of other nice tools which will enable us to get these smart contracts and transform them into web service so that we can plug them in the legacy or web applications, mobile applications, and so on and so forth. And this is all very easy. We have a node interface. It quickly enables you to publish and test the contracts. We have all of the tutorials available for those of you who are interested. Thank you very much. Thank you, Percival. Any questions? Or maybe we should do our networking afterwards. We have a question here. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you. It's a challenge to have it live like this. We have complementary visions. Whenever we perform a transaction in a public blockchain, it is shared throughout the world. So if there's a crazy one in North Korea saying that it is not allowed to have mining activities there, it's okay. The network will go on. So what does it mean to have a permissioned blockchain? Who sustains that? If IBM decides tomorrow that's not an interesting business, how will the network be? Well, I tried to show you that it's like an HTTP server. You come here, you download your own nodes, but of course you can route the nodes. For instance, this one was right here in my own computer. So we could have nodes running. We could use our Hyperledger service in Bluemix, or we could even use a different structure or run it at any other server. Each network has a different set of nodes. For instance, here in the example of this farmer, I created a node for a next client. I'm not going to name any clients here. But each participant would have its own node for the network. And whenever I have a transaction between André and Alecio, only their nodes will sign that transaction, and therefore you do not need to have a consensus of the whole network. The participants of the network themselves maintain it, and if you want to, you can go there, download the code, run it. You don't need IBM to do that. Another question? I have a doubt about how data synchronization. So you have a cluster. I am not really familiar with blockchain, but what happens when you have a transaction and that information was written for one of us or for the three of us at once? There is a risk of writing it. The node was unplugged from the network, and then we lose it. Well, the transaction is only committed whenever all of the nodes accept it. And so, in this case, we were running with only one. And it's not replicated in all of the nodes. It was a public transaction in the network or a set of specific nodes. If we create a specific channel for this, well, in this case, there will be a consensus in this interface. This request was solved immediately. If we had 100 nodes, well, there would be some latency, and that's why, as far as possible, we prefer to have transactions in channels. In this case, only 2 of them would accept the transaction, and the rest would replicate it automatically without a need to go through a consensus. So there's always a very strong accounting characteristics with this blockchain. So what would be a nice architecture to read? I can imagine that it will read directly for the ledger to generate a report, so that's probably a stupid idea. You may have to synchronize it with a specific database. Well, you get a nod that is smart contract. So I talked about the participants, but you can create a special participant, which is an auditor who can write his or her own queries. There's a query language where the auditor can write queries regardless of the content of the smart contracts, and therefore the auditor defines who the auditor for the network is going to be, and that auditor can have any kind of query for the network. I get it. Thank you very much. My name is Lucas. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for the presentation. My doubt is about the integrity of information. He was from Abnobi and started being Andrés. And if André wants to change the name of the dog from Toto to Schnauer, it doesn't allow you to do that. I tried to change André's ID from X to Y. The ID is what identifies that information in the network. So when you enter an ID, you can change the attributes, and it's going to be part of the history that you have changed an attribute. But the ID, you can never change. Yeah, in that case, the name could not be the ID. or you generate a transaction which is made available depending on the structure of the transaction for everybody in the network. Every time I come here and I change an asset, for instance, I cannot change the name because the name is the ID of the animal, but any other attribute, I could come here and say that Toto is no longer a dog. Yeah, in this case, the name should not have been the ID. We should use a single ID, and Andrea would have to submit a different transaction just to exchange the name. With that, you have the traceability, the name was changed. Thank you very much once again. And now I would like to invite Pedro, who is one of the founders of WeLight, which is a startup with a social impact. It is aimed at generating more transparency, going from donations all the way to the implementation at the end. Pedro is one of our partners. We use Hyperledger as a tool to support all of this transparency of his business. So, Pedro, please. Thank you very much. The mic is right over there.
Opa, alô. Boa tarde, pessoal.
Good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to be here, and I thank you for the invitation. The objective of this lecture is to tell you a little bit about WeLight, and above all, to encourage all of you and all of us to consider the great power we all have within us, which happens when we work together. We can change the world.
A história começou.
This all started when Ian and myself, Ian is the other co-founder, we met each other when we worked with Indians in the Amazon. We're talking about web transcendence, so I would like to open this story for you here. Based on this encounter, there were two of us working with web. I was already working with investment captation, and Ian in Curitiba was a partner of a digital accelerator, and he was one of the co-founders of the Meat Lovers platform, and he knew a lot about digital marketing. When we got together again in Rio, and a need to create something new and different. So, how do we use technology to generate the most positive impact possible? The first thing we considered was the following. If we really want it and if we are aware of our responsibility regarding this, especially in a country like Brazil, where we have so many problems to solve, definitely our creativeness will lead us to some other tool which will generate some impact. And therefore, we started taking this pathway, and based on it, we had a global survey and found some numbers in the e-commerce market. So we have $2.3 trillion circulating in the world. This number has been increasing, and this market actually grows a lot and will grow even more. We have 1.5 billion people participating in this market today. We have these platforms which connect thousands of stores, and here in Brazil, everything that is circulated in e-commerce have to do with stores that are connected to affiliation networks, which are these platforms which will distribute links and access forms to generate traffic. So whenever you have a content site in a blog or at a Estadão, products and everything, when you click that, you click at Netshoes and you purchase something, it's going to pay a commission automatically to the publisher which generated the traffic. There will be multiple cashbacks, everything that will generate some value. But today, companies that are aligned with the purpose of consumers have a lot of advantage. We had a fourfold increase when compared to companies which are not part of this movement. People are more aware of it, and they are having to become more aware. And then we decided to create a possibility to add value to facilitate the process for these companies so that they can be a part of this process, and with that they will attract more consumers. And so we created our first tool. It is a plugin that you add to your computer, and every time you enter each one of these stores, which are our partners, today we have over 1,600 partner stores, all of the airlines here in Brazil, for instance. So you identify, it will show the commission to be paid. We're going to receive this commission. When you purchase something, you will not have any additional discounts. Actually, you may have a discount because there are discount coupons available for these stores, and they are made available very easily. You don't have to keep on looking for them. And then we receive this commission, and we donate 90% to the NGOs of the client's source. With that, you can generate some impact without taking money from your pocket and without doing anything differently. And you even have a plus, which is a discount. As I told you, that this project is not something that you can decline. If you talk to people in the street and you say, okay, you're going to help people, and they will say, okay, why not help? Why not do good things? Okay, want to help people without doing anything, without spending any money, and you still have a discount? Well, there's no way you can decline something like this. There is a huge challenge, which is using this attitude, even if it may be a very simple one. Just enter information, give the NGO some points, but this attitude where you have an impact, make a difference, is still not happening. We have some cultural issues here in Brazil, and things are not going as we believe they should be going. A lot of people are doing very important work for the good of our country and the world. And with this tool, you don't even have to spend a single cent to be able to help with this work. So we worked for a year and a half, established partnerships. We now have 32 NGOs. Some of them are large international NGOs, like Rio's Night Watch, that, and some other small ones that are very innovating. But the objective was to have a mosaic of institutions so that we could show people that this is a tool for you to be able to change the world any way you want to. You want to plant trees, go ahead and plant trees. It's going to be done for free. You want to help children, okay, go ahead and help children. WeLight was the first tool to generate online shopping, and it enables you to choose more than one cause. We did this using a point system. The system works like this. You enter, register, and you get 5 points. And these points are going to be shared by the stores. And then we will give like half directly to the NGOs that you chose, according to the proportionality of your point distribution. The other half goes to a collaborative fund, which plays a very important role, which is the following. This fund manages half of all resources. The distribution was done like that. This is a very important thing, and we try to separate the impact potential from other potentials. If we want to be able to save the world, we cannot encourage people to buy more. We want every purchase to be able to generate a positive impact, and therefore the main way to do it today, and we're going to have other ways, but the most important one is for you to invite your friends. And so if you invite your friends, you have 15 friends, your friends come in, so you're going to have 20 points. So you started out with 5, so an individual with these points will generate 4 times more resources. And so it's a lot easier to generate resources by gaining points than by buying even. And this purchase will generate the total value. Based on all of this, this is something that was quite obvious for us. And then, more recently, we had this wonderful opportunity and meeting between André Salem from IBM and myself. They were already evaluating the impact to introduce this technology. And then we had this partnership. Today, we're beginning to develop what is going to be the first tool that can track resources going all the way to these NGOs until we come to a stage which is the cherry at the top of the cake.
That will trace, certify, and calculate the impacts generated by those NGOs. Today, considering all resources that come from the World Bank or those funds that give support to some humanitarian causes, in average, what reaches the end, those that are starving, they get 8% of the total resources donated. There is so much loss on the way, corruption here and there. So this is a critical issue. As to philanthropy, trust is key. In Brazil, we know how much people do not trust NGOs. And abroad, we still find the same, as people are willing to reach a higher level of resource management. Hopefully, institutions, they can have their resources tracked via bank account, with bank APIs. They will get that information. They will be registering results before, after, choosing indicators with a great freedom for indicators choice. And they have to have proofs, such as documents, photos, videos, that may be quantitative or qualitative resources. And it's up to you to fulfill that role. Once we are trying to help others. We want that kind of philanthropy to be as accessible as possible and to bring people together, to have that feeling to make a difference at people's lives. We truly believe in that change that gives some sense to our lives systemically. Once the system is ready to go, first part has already been executed. Everything that goes throughout Elite is being registered at blockchain. And once we are able to have that available for NGOs to register, flow, impact, and promote in this market a multiply effect, those NGOs that are more effective in generating impact, they will be ahead. They will get some additional motivation, one learning from another. That information will become public. And once that open source layer is open for NGOs, social impact, people that would like to have their impact measured, anyone that is after capturing resources from the World Bank, that is possible. And more tools will be released over that platform to help those entities that help and support the world in an effective and positive way. Here are some other platforms that also apply blockchain in their philanthropic effort. Giveth, same funders as the DAO. Alice and HelperBit, they work similarly. Money is tracked and is just delivered once NGO starts effectively carrying out the project. And BitGive, this is just a platform for Bitcoin's donation, and it shows exactly when that resource has reached the end of the chain. Our goal is to promote impact in blockchain. That's not simple at all, as the impact assessment universe is rather complex, very expensive for companies to conduct a precise impact approach. Even larger NGOs do not find that easy at all. So we are after a simple way to do it, especially for those stakeholders that wanted to make that come true in a very effective and concrete manner. This is our vision. We want to make simpler, to turn things into a simple way. That has to be revealed and has to become clear. People, they have to empower and try to do the good for others. This is a middle to long run, and it works as a channel to anyone to check and follow transformations, be interactive and participative. This is our main belief. And the world is seeking for that. And to conclude, I would like to share a very brief story with you. We work with technology for a while, but we have that activist soul. More than talking about we light, I would like to take that energy to you. It's possible to perform your activities considering impact. So impact is an additional touch to your endeavors, and that's so positive. And as activists, after 1.5 years, we end up getting involved to some social initiatives. Everything started when we decided to put together an institutional video. A different video. We didn't want to have like a cliche storytelling type. We were after something different. And then we thought, well, we have some budget. Why don't we donate it? Let's change the world with that videos, money. We will no longer have money. Then we just record, I don't know, a dog or anything with our cell camera. And it's wonderful to be able to help others. Let's do that together. 2 weeks later, we got an email out of the blue from the Worldwide Vision saying that they were after 2,000 reais to digging a well in a very poor community in the countryside of Alagoas state up north in Brazil. And there we went. When we got there to that very remote area, there was a guy with one single eye, almost blind, trying to find his way to get some water from the well. The whole community would not believe. And then he painted it and said, yes, over here, 40 meters digging down. Apparently, there was no heavy rain for the past 5 years. Once they kicked the rock, and then the water started coming from the depth of the earth. A big storm started for 4 days in a row. All digs and dumps, they were full of water. And there we were. And we decided to make a video totally out of the box. We managed to help and change 400 families' lives, and that was so strong. We got so touched by that, and we said, no, indeed, we are in the right way. 2 weeks after, the Marianas Dam there was that flood, and we had to go there to help them. Ian and myself, we donated 500 reais each one of us because they didn't have any water, clean water, drinking water. I posted a video on Facebook telling the story. Well, this is Ian's bank account. If you want to help, if you want to donate anything else, do it. I'm just sharing this video to show you how easy it is to help someone. A week after, there was a total of 50,000 reais. We had a crowdfunding done in France for this campaign, and the first batch of water was a total of 100,000 liters of water. Vale took 200,000 liters, and that was totally disposable because it was contaminated with kerosene. After 2 weeks, a week, just with one simple event at Facebook, we took a total of 400,000 liters of water. That was amazing. Then we went to the Amazon region. We opened some water wells in some indigenous fields, communities. Amazing. You wouldn't believe how much we have done so far. Now enjoy a video wrapping up everything we had done after that first attempt. Can you play it? It's difficult to break that piece of wood. Energy, cell phone, still share nice stuff. We are alive. Our planet is our main power. We can create our own future. It's time we get together. We have to make a difference. We have to change the world. Anything can be as simple as one click. You can do something good, not just for yourself, but to everyone. I am helping myself. I'm helping others. Everyone together. Thank you. That's a very inspiring lecture. We have one final question. Time for one question only. We are running late. How can blockchain help your goal to generate impact? It is crystal clear that blockchain will be part of a philanthropy. There is no way out. The possibility to have registers and take the level of transparency there. If we have more resources and massive resources to allow changes, that is cool. There is much to be created over it. And there are some other dynamics that we are also considering. And that will be a push. More resources, the better. But that requires trust and transparency. Wonderful. Professor Eduardo, can you please make your final remarks now? He's got a plane to catch. Our event is running late, and we have to have lunch, right? Yeah, we have to say good afternoon now. Morning is gone long ago. I was invited to make this presentation, and then I thought, well, blockchain and education. People say blockchain is still in its adolescence. You say more than you do. And education, even worse. Just because I'm a teacher, they want me to do it. Fine, let's see what we can do. And as coincidence or destiny, I don't know. In the meantime, I participated at the Gartner event in Orlando a few weeks ago, and a number of things were being discussed. And there was a talk there, a lecture, when people were talking about blockchain. And I said, what's that? Well, after conducting a research with CEOs, throughout the world, universities with the CEOs and any type of relation with Gartner, education is running really behind. And if you consider that this type of research, when you ask to a CIO about a new technology, they will always say, well, I have something in mind. You have to place a filter, and then you see that blockchain is not part of the educational agenda. Hype cycle. There are 3 stages. Motivation with the new technology, then disappointment, and 3rd phase, when things are implemented. still blockchain is far away to be part of education agenda. There isn't much going on. But we can even consider some possibilities. And talking about possibilities, it makes sense, the certification. People lie in their CVs. If they do not lie, they overstate it. It's quite common then to have fraud. Maybe fraud is a bit too much, but people, they tend to exaggerate when they write down their CVs. CV information are less valued as there is not enough reliability. But if you think how to build up a CV, how to write down a CV, when I was at university, first I had to succeed in the text, where you collect a number of certificates. And to have the diploma afterwards, you have to have approval, and you have to get a certificate proving that you were able to fulfill all activities. As part of that discipline, you had a number of activities, exercises, you name it. In the end, this whole process is a collection of registers. And it makes lots of sense thinking about blockchain. So the blockchain process could be part of it. It's very difficult to think. And as a teacher, a university teacher, comes a student from another university underwent a certain subject. What is Math 1? I have to compare it. What are the activities, the demanding activities as part of a curriculum of Math 1? Comparisons, they are very difficult to be made. When you check CVs, scores, you don't quite get the proper idea. And that assessment is done. It's difficult to compare. Comparisons are quite hard if you create some mechanisms of certification, and if that could be proved differently in a given way, in a certain given way, somehow you could improve the information quality. I have two cases just to illustrate how frequent that problem became. And there is a certain urgency to solve it. Have you ever heard about Bologna's protocol? That is part of the European community, and that is affecting our university as well. Our university has partnership with several European universities, and we have to adapt that to our curriculum. In the Bologna protocol, you have over 40 countries. They have to undergo a graduation course, which lasts for 3 years. After the 4th year, they have greater inter-exchange. Anyone who signed down the protocol, they define their basic curriculum, and on their 4th year, they can go somewhere else. we get students who are undergoing their 4th year. With 3 years, they conclude their baccalaureate, and then on their 4th year, they can move, they can undergo their 4th year somewhere else, as everyone has concluded their 3 years protocol. Each school in each country the program can have an blueprint, but in practical levels, there are different steps from country to country and school to school. The Bologna Protocol is a situation where you can have a blockchain application. Scientific articles. When you work together with a peer, when you write an article, today some magazines, they demand a pre-definition. What has each one done in that article? What have they done? They do not follow alphabetic order. Usually, you address that according to level of participation. And if you have a more hierarchical teacher, you do not discuss that with them, right? Someone who writes an article with a student, you have first and second author, regardless if the student was responsible to put together most of the work. And with blockchain, you could do that. You could have an embedded protocol, and anytime you open a version of that article, you will register each one's contributions. You go from the macro Bologna's protocol to a personal collaboration. Instead of talking about production of scientific articles, I talk about work group. There are 5 of them doing something. A work group. Do you think that all 5 students will help in the 5 working groups at the different subjects? Of course not. And the guy that is the teacher that has to score it will give the same score to all students, whereas just one of them did most of the work. It's important to know how much each one has dedicated their time for the purpose of the project. When I was younger, we had a different type of courses, data process, but in technology, that is a fact for a while. Who is fully skilled to work on the market once is graduates? In practical terms, you get that skill thanks to a number of some additional courses that you have to undergo. When you have an active job, you learn by new experiences. This type of model that overcomes the role of activity performed in schools where you create a competence of someone that you are ready for undergo this or that position. We have blockchain tools that would allow integration of all activities. Such certification, after all, will be a result of assessment and professional development. That is quite complicated and not precise. You have to undergo 4 years in college to get a diploma. But if you do not conclude it, you just throw everything away because that doesn't mean anything at all. You can even change, go to a different course, a different subject, but years done without full conclusion, they are useless. And some schools, they have a more rigid, strict curriculum, granular certifications. The whole process is done to have certificates as part of a package. And we have some other packages to be rendered. What about professions? That is less valued. What matters is a diploma. Any other activity, whatever you have done before in your professional life, you have maybe to address that during a job interview. But in a recruitment process where you just send your curriculum, that it's not accounted. Who knows? Who is able to do it? MIT from 2015, quite incipient. They are conducting some of the disciplines or the subjects that are being integrated to blockchain. It looks like a coin. Throughout blockchain, they are certifying it. And there is a more recent work in partnership with IBM. And they hope to have their first experience in a math or a contest that will take place soon, beginning of November, actually. Apart from that, I do not know about any other effective or potential applications. Central idea is to change that logics, the so-called diploma. Today, you just see results, outcomes of the total package. Education frontiers leap. Schools are not the only place able to issue that certificate in your educational blockchain. Each one will have your own education entity. That will open to new opportunities and resistance to new business models. That school model, the current school model, will be questioned. You may take several courses, trainings, workshops, activities that can be done at different places, including schools, but not only, where you design your curriculum and your final certificate will be a chain of blocks or a blockchain to be accumulated throughout your life. Regulators, they have to make a statement there. Ministries, they want to keep packages as much as possible. We want more and more globalization. And that is not exactly as we were hoping to get. We want to have credits, we want to be graduated and get different experiences here, abroad. But to do it, we have to create some ways, new ways to regulate it. And that we will open opportunities. And they exist today. It's so difficult to calculate that in their process of certification. That's it. I just want to give you an idea of what can be done. But all very relevant, and we have to keep on discussing about them. Thank you. And to close, one question only. We should be back. All right, less than 1 hour for lunch. Wonderful.
Falar. Fico pensando aqui, Edu, mais que uma pergunta, né? Mas quero saber o que você acha. Eu fico pensando que tem muita coisa, né, que está saindo hoje em dia de curso nanodegree, né? Tipo Audacity, né? Udemy, as academias de mini cursos mesmo, os modulares, né?
Let's see if I can get his question. MIT, small workshops. There is MITx now. That's a MicroMaster MBA. Those small courses, they would be much more valued if they were registered, and maybe they could create a ecosystem. We can even use that ecosystem of micro courses for different allocations. If I have an inter-related blockchain course, that may be interest for my profile. I agree to your comment. But that's true. Today you have a system which values the package, whereas all important learning happens in the small package. I graduated as an engineer in São Carlos University. And what I have learned complex variables, this and that. I have forgotten everything, believe me. To my professional activity, that is worthless. But all additional activities conducted outside, they are so powerful. And they are not in my curriculum, they are not mentioned anywhere. But I know they are very important. And to be able to say that, I have to say that in person. And my diploma will be always considered. And we are done now. I hope that the blockchain workshop was useful to you. So be back at 2:45. Thank you.